April 26, 1986, 1:23 a.m. An explosion occurred at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. But what happened that night was not just a simple accident, no matter how it was later explained. Large parts of the truth were hidden, erased, or never officially acknowledged. Even today, there are disturbing details about Chernobyl that never made it into official records. According to Soviet documents, 122 people were working at the plant during the night of the explosion. Survivors, however, tell a different story. They insist that at least 160 people were present. The extra 30 to 40 individuals do not appear in any official paperwork. Their names are missing, their deaths were never recorded, and their families received no compensation. Some former workers believe these people were military personnel. Others believe they were part of a secret experimental team. Officially, they never existed. After the explosion, thousands of workers' uniforms were heavily contaminated with radiation. These clothes were supposed to be destroyed in special facilities. Instead, many of them were quietly released into second-hand markets between 1986 and 1989. People bought and wore these clothes without knowing what they were exposed to. Years later, rising cancer cases in certain regions were never officially linked back to these contaminated items. Visitors to the Chernobyl exclusion zone often describe the same strange feeling. The area is not silent, but it doesn't sound natural either. In some locations, there are no birds, no insects, and no familiar environmental noise. Even more unsettling is the fact that in certain places where radiation levels appear normal, animals refuse to go near them. It's as if there is an invisible threat that living creatures can sense. The first responders to arrive after the explosion were firefighters. They were never told they were dealing with a nuclear disaster. Pieces of radioactive graphite scattered around the reactor were mistaken for ordinary debris. Some firefighters even picked them up with their bare hands. Within days, their bodies began to fail. Skin peeled away, organs shut down, and doctors witnessed the human body breaking apart from the inside. This level of radiation exposure was almost unheard of in medical history. For 36 hours after the explosion, the public was told nothing. In the nearby city of Pripyat, people continued their daily lives. Children played outside, windows were left open, weddings took place. All the while, an invisible radioactive cloud was spreading through the air. Authorities delayed evacuation to avoid panic and protect the image of the Soviet Union. That delay caused thousands of people to absorb far higher doses of radiation than necessary. In the months that followed, hundreds of thousands of people were sent to Chernobyl as liquidators. Their task was to clean up the aftermath of the disaster. Many were young soldiers with minimal training and inadequate protective gear. Some were ordered to clear radioactive debris from rooftops and were allowed only 90 seconds at a time. Any longer, and survival was unlikely. Many of these workers later died from cancer, but their deaths were rarely officially connected to Chernobyl. Beneath the destroyed reactor, the melted nuclear core formed a strange solid mass. Scientists later named it the elephant's foot. At the time of its discovery, standing near it for just a few minutes could deliver a fatal dose of radiation. What makes it even more unsettling is that decades later, it remains dangerously radioactive. Chernobyl is not a finished disaster. It is still active. Declassified documents suggest that serious safety warnings were issued weeks before the explosion. Engineers repeatedly reported that the reactor was unstable and dangerous. These warnings were ignored or never passed up the chain of command. Shutting down the reactor would have meant lost productivity, something the Soviet system could not accept. Chernobyl was not inevitable. It was preventable. Today, Chernobyl stands as a frozen ghost zone. Nature appears to have reclaimed the land, But this recovery is deceptive. Radiation remains embedded in the soil, the buildings, and the air. The people left, but the disaster did not. Chernobyl is not just a nuclear accident. It is a reminder of what happens when secrecy, denial, and political pride outweigh human life. And perhaps the most disturbing truth of all is this: Chernobyl is not just a story from the past. The same conditions that caused it still exist today.